Your thoughts on the Democratic debate? I know you watched it. I saw some live tweeting going on by you.
It was a good debate in the sense that we were able to see a very dramatic contrast between what the Democrats would do and what the Republicans would do. If America chooses a Democrat, we know that they're going to continue to try to make apologies for radical Islam, and they don't want to go where the president doesn't want to go and call it radical Islam. They still want to somehow downplay that. There are going to be dramatic differences in taxes. They truly believe that our taxes aren't high enough, which will be a real shock to a lot of working families out there. There's a real contrast in terms of how do we deal with crime, whether or not we ought to go after gun manufacturers, or maybe whether we ought to go after criminals. So many contrasts tonight, Brett, and I thought it was a good opportunity for America to see that this is not sort of the old classic tweedledee, tweedledum. This is a dramatic difference between somebody on the far left representing the Democrats, any one of those three, and people representing more of the mainstream, any of the Republicans on our stage.
Secretary Clinton was asked a couple of times, a couple of different ways about her emails and the controversy around them. Senator Sanders kind of disregarded that, but Secretary Clinton's answer had in part this. Take a listen.
Can you satisfy Democrats who might worry about another shoe dropping, that you and your staff have been totally truthful to them and that another shoe's not going to drop?
Well, I think after 11 hours, that's pretty clear, yes.
And then she moved on. Your thoughts?
Well, the fact is that 11-hour ordeal in the House committee had nothing to do with her emails. It had to do with Benghazi, and the one thing we learned in 11 hours was that she knowingly lied. She lied to the American people. She knowingly lied to the families of those 4 murdered Americans, and that she completely deceived the American public. That's what we learned. Now, frankly, I thought the House made a mistake by making it 11 hours because then the whole read from the press was she survived 11 hours without really pointing out that what she revealed in those 11 hours was a dramatic just admission that she had openly said something about a video that did not exist, and she knew it didn't the very night it happened.
Are you convinced, though, Governor, that she is going to be the Democratic nominee?
It looks that she will be. I don't see any way in the world that Martin O'Malley or Bernie Sanders are going to eclipse her. She's got the political strength, the power of the superdelegates. She has extraordinary money. She has the machinery of the Democratic Party, at least most of them. And having fought the Clintons all of my political life, let me tell you something. I don't see Bernie Sanders or Martin O'Malley up to challenge of dealing with the kind of process that they will go through in that primary.
I want to ask you about the Paris attacks and some of the things that you've said in the wake of those attacks, that the borders here in the U.S. should be closed. You mentioned Martin O'Malley. He said tonight that the symbol of our country is the Statue of Liberty, not a barbed wire fence. Your response to that?
Well, that's wonderful rhetoric, but the Statue of Liberty says, bring us your tired and your weary. It didn't say, bring us your terrorists and let them come in here and bomb neighborhoods, cafes, and concert halls. What we saw in Paris was the result of open borders in Europe. The EU has proven itself to be a failure in dealing with terrorism. I think when you see the left-wing socialist president of France, a very politically correct country, saying, it's time to close our borders, and he does so immediately, I think it might be a clue to America that this idea of wholesale having people from the Middle East come and we have no idea who they are, when in fact one of the Paris attackers was one of those refugees, then Brett, it's time to wake up and smell the falafel. Something isn't going right in this open immigration policy.
Would you put it at
zero?
We are
importing terrorism.
Would you put refugees at zero, the number?
I would not bring refugees into the United States. I think that what we should do is, unless we can vet them, and the FBI director says we don't have the capacity to do that right now, then let's establish a place for refugees. If they need a safe haven, let's do it in Saudi Arabia, Kuwait, maybe Dubai, maybe somewhere in Jordan. We'll help assist with it. But I'm tired of America having to take care of the whole load, and frankly, it's illogical and irrational to take people out of their culture, their language, their religion, even their climate, and put them in a place where they are going to be completely disoriented. It would be much better to safe haven in the Middle East, more so than bringing them 8,000 miles to America.
And aside from refugees, you would put a clampdown and a stop to legal immigration in the U.S.?
You know, I think we've got to take a new look at this. I said the other day that it's wrong. A lot of, even the Republicans are clamoring for more H-1B visas. Let's bring more foreign workers in. Brett, I'm worried about American workers losing their jobs. There wasn't that many months ago that there were hundreds of Disney employees that were supposed to be working at the happiest place on earth, and they got the heave-ho because they were supposed to train their replacements who would work for a lot less money imported from foreign countries. And they came in on the H-1B visas. We are creating a low-wage situation for Americans, and we're doing it artificially by importing labor to drive wages for American workers lower than the Dead Sea. That's not a healthy way to build a great country. It's not the way to treat American workers. And this notion that we ought to expand H-1B, I think, is a huge, monumental mistake, and Republicans should repudiate it.